Justin, Don LaGreca, Dave Rothenberg, Peter Rosenberg. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
All right. Well, so what were your thoughts on the game yesterday against Detroit? Is that offense, if that's the way the offense plays the rest of the way, are the Giants okay?
If the defense plays that way
Right.
the rest of the way, yeah.
Yeah.
They are. I thought that defense absolutely has, improved drastically. Just over the last 2 weeks. I mean, they've played well throughout, I think, but over the last 2 weeks they became, a championship quality, caliber defense. Obviously, the offense is having their issues right now. I don't know, what it equates to. I thought they ran the ball better. I thought the addition of Justin Pugh back in the offensive line, had some positives to it. They didn't turn the football over. They just wasn't able to sustain drives, and they will obviously need to be able to do that to make the playoff run. But it's an encouraging sight. What I see from this football team right now, they're finding ways to win football games, and it's not pretty. But again, they've won 10 games this year, and they've won these last two down the stretches against really good football teams.
Justin, we've seen it. People have discussed it nonstop about comparing this team to 2007 and 2011. Do you see comparisons between the two championship clubs you were on and this team right now, or is that only because it's the same organization?
I do see comparisons, but if I was going back to when we were going on our 2011 run, the last thing I wanted to hear was comparisons because it wasn't necessarily fair to the team that we had at that moment. It's easy to make comparisons. I can make comparisons to a lot of teams we played on, but this team is unique in its own right. And, if we're going to go and make comparisons, I think the offense was playing better in those championship years at this point. I remember we played in 2007. They put, 35 points up against what was considered the best team in football ever in the New England Patriots in 2007. So I don't see that offense doing that right now. But I do see a lot of comparisons as far as being able to create pressure on defense, that getting turnovers. As of last week, our offense isn't turning the football over. You can make comparisons, but I think this team is unique in its own right.
Saw you talking to JPP yesterday. First of all, what does his mentality seem to be like? And also, how different has the defense seemed so far without JPP out there?
I think, with him yesterday, we were just basically talking about, some Christmas stuff, some family stuff. And I think we'll sit down and we'll talk about football later. Right now, he's just focusing on trying to be an addition in any way he can to his football team, and that's, telling the guys what he sees from the sideline and so on and so forth. We really didn't talk about a lot of stuff as far as his injury or football stuff. We just kind of caught up as brothers and things like that. And I think what you're seeing from this defense right now is the fact that young guys are stepping up. With the addition of Romeo and everybody they're throwing in on that defensive end spot. I also see Spags has really increased his pressure. He's been bringing, he always brings pressure, but I feel as though it seems like he's bringing a little bit more now these last 2 weeks, and they've done well covering people. The secondary's done a really, really good job of sticking close to people and making plays on the back end. That's been all positive.
I'm so glad you brought up Spags because he definitely deserves credit for this defense. What kind of coach was he? How was he to deal with?
We got him kind of early in his career when I had him into the no one really. The people in the football world knew him, but no one really knew of him, and no one really knew what to expect from it. And one thing I learned from him early was to play to your strengths. He really allowed, guys like me, Stray, OC, to pretty much dictate the play call because he knew that we were the type of guys that could get pressure. And when it was times when he sent in blitzes that we were like, nah, man, we're not running that. Just let us go. And he respected that because he knew what kind of player he was. So the thing I learned from him is that he's a player's coach. He really values what his players tell him, and he tries to, call the game and and incorporate defenses into, the type of players that he has. And I can see that now. I can see it now. When he had JPP and Vernon going, he allowed those guys to go. I don't think he trusts the young guys as much now, and that's why I see a little bit more pressure. And plus, I think he trusts that secondary in man-to-man coverages. With guys like Landon Collins back there making plays, it seems like on every play, it just seems like he trusts that secondary to be put in those positions where they have to be one-on-one, they have to make plays on the ball and things like that.
I want to ask you about the kid out of Notre Dame. First of all, did you know Okwara at all when the Giants brought him in? And how does look? He's a big guy. I was talking to Mike Golick Jr. this morning. He said in his senior season at Notre Dame he had 9 or 10 sacks. Is the system that flawed that someone that big, that athletic, that has produced at a high level at Notre Dame could go undrafted? It makes absolutely no sense to me, Justin.
Well, I mean, listen, man, the system is flawed. And I can use myself as an example. I was a third-round pick, and a lot of people are like, well, this guy's a first-round talent. How you go to third round? And, I mean, that's not as drastic as not getting drafted. But, I did know Romeo. I've seen him on campus. I worked with him on campus before he got to the NFL, and have developed a relationship since he got in the NFL. And I just, he's one of those kids where it just seems like he always rises to the occasion. When he was in college, the same thing. He wasn't looked upon as being like the dominant, college player. Early in his career, though, it just seemed like he got better every year and every year. And, one of the things I remember telling him when JPP got hurt was, listen, you've been playing football all your life. And I know that's a cliche, but you have. And just go out and do what you've always been doing, just at a faster pace. That's all the NFL is. And, the moment has never been too big for him, so I knew that he would fit in just well in New York City and in this system, and he has.
Did you bring him to the Giants' attention, or did you have a relationship with him that you went to the Giants brass and said, bring him in?
Yeah, it was basically based off Notre Dame players looking at the Notre Dame players, and that's kind of how I met him. Knew that he was a guy obviously played the same position as me, of similar build. And when I went to campus, one summer here, I was telling him, you need to talk to this guy Romeo. He might have a future in the sport. So that's kind of how it started. But I didn't bring him to the Giants at all.
Justin, before we let you go, there's some rumors that maybe Tom Coughlin might be on the top of Jacksonville's list as the next head coach of the team. Do you think that's a possibility?
Sure it is. He still has a home in the area. I know he still wants to coach. I think, I don't think Jacksonville is ideal for him as far as, him being in his older stages in life, and that seemed to be a truly rebuild, opportunity. I'm not sure he's looking for the complete rebuild of a team. But yeah, Jacksonville definitely does itself a favor in doing that due diligence around if Coach Coughlin wants that job or not, because obviously he knows that market. He knows he's had success there before, and I think he's probably one of the better ones on the market to kind of come in and right that ship if that's what he wants to do. If he still has the heart for the rebuild, which would be the case in Jacksonville.
Well, Justin, our last chance to talk to you before the holiday. We wish you nothing but the best holiday, New Year, and all that, and definitely looking forward to talking to you come playoff time, buddy.
Absolutely. Same to you guys. Happy holidays, and I hope you get to spend with a lot of people you love.
Yeah, you too, man. That's Justin Tuck.